What's up, everybody? Good morning. Shall we dive into the business side of the house? Let's do it. Today's episode is brought to you by Wild Alaskan Company. It's about food, specifically seafood. Now, I don't know about any of you, but I love me some red meat. But I really try to round out my diet so it's not just red meat and chicken. I love adding fish to that. Did you know that most grocery store seafood that you eat was frozen, then thawed to just present to you as fresh? Fresh doesn't always mean the best. So, if you don't like that idea, you can start enjoying your seafood with flavor preserved at the peak of freshness with Wild Alaskan Company. Wild Alaskan Company delivers high-quality, sustainably sourced wild-caught seafood right to your door. Each shipment contains premium cuts of individually wrapped portions of delicious seafood that are ready to prepare and easy to cook. You can choose from salmon, cod, halibut, and more, or a combination, of course. And every month, there are different specials to explore. Wild Alaskan Company seafood is how nature intended it to be, always wild, never farmed or modified, and it contains zero. And that means no antibiotics. You can adjust, pause, or cancel your membership at any time, and they offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee or your money back. Right now, you can get $15 off your first box of premium seafood when you visit wildalaskancompany.com/clearedhot. That's wildalaskan, ALASKAN, company.com/clearedhot for $15 off your first box. wildalaskancompany.com/clearedhot. Make sure to use the URL to let them know that I sent you. This episode is also brought to you by Allform. Now, if you've listened to the podcast, you've probably heard me talk about Helix Mattress. This is their sister company. Helix has left the bedroom and they've started making sofas. And what makes an Allform sofa really cool? Well, for starters, it's the easiest way that you can customize a sofa using premium materials and at a fraction of the cost of traditional stores. You get to pick the fabric. It's all spill, stain, and scratch resistant. The sofa color, the color of the legs, the sofa size, the shape to make sure it's perfect for you and your home. Then they've got armchairs and love seats all the way up to an 8-seat sectional. So there is something for everyone, and you can always start small and buy more seats later on if you want your Allform sofa to grow and change when you move. All of the sofas are delivered directly to your home with fast, free shipping. In the past, if you wanted to order a sofa, it could take weeks or even months to arrive, and you would need someone to come and assemble it in your home. Allform takes just 3 to 7 days to arrive in the mail, and you can assemble it yourself in a few minutes, no tools needed. I think I have the 5-person sectional, and I did just this. I ordered it through the website, put it together myself. It was super easy and came with everything that I needed. They even offer a forever warranty, which means literally forever. So if you are looking for the perfect sofa, look no further. Check out allform.com/clearedhot. And Allform is offering 20% off all orders to the listeners. allform.com/clearedhot. This episode is also brought to you by Athletic Greens, probably the simplest thing you could do for your nutritional insurance. One tasty scoop of Athletic Greens contains 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients, including a multivitamin, multi-mineral, probiotic, greens superfood blend, and more that all work together to fill the nutritional gaps in your diet, increase your energy and focus, aid with digestion, and supports a healthy immune system, all without the need to take multiple products. Right now, Athletic Greens is doubling down on supporting your immune system. You should be paying attention to this because the winter months are coming. They're offering the audience a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with the first purchase if you visit the link in the show notes today. You'll basically never have to buy vitamin D again. So whether you're looking for peak performance or just better health, covering your bases with Athletic Greens makes investing in your energy, immunity, and gut health each day simple, tasty, and efficient. Visit athleticgreens.com/clearedhot and join health experts, athletes, and health-conscious go-getters around the world who make a daily commitment to their health every day. Again, all you need to do is visit athleticgreens.com/clearedhot and get your free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs today. Last but not least, this episode is brought to you by the most delicious cereal on the face of the damn planet, Magic Spoon. If you love cereal, but you don't like all the stuff that is in traditional cereal, I got you. Well, Magic Spoon actually has you. 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. Only 140 calories per serving, and it's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and low-carb. You also get the chance to build your own box. Available flavors that you can build your very own custom bundle are cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, blueberry, cinnamon, cookies and cream, and maple waffle. Damn, that's a mouthful. You may have just noticed that I said the words cookies and cream and maple waffle in association with cereal. I did. When those two flavors were first introduced for a limited time, they sold out extremely quickly. But now they're back full-time So if you haven't tried them, give them a try. Go to magicspoon.com/clearedhot to grab a custom bundle of cereal and try it today. And be sure to use the promo code clearedhot at checkout to save $5 off your order. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it is backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/clearedhot and use the code clearedhot to save $5 off. That's all. We did it, everybody. We made it through. Episode 199. Damn, we are close to cracking the 2-century mark. Is with my good friend, Evan Hafer, the alleged founder and CEO of Black Rifle Coffee. But he did many things before that. He was obviously in the military as a Green Beret, and then he went to work for the agency, and by that I mean the Central Intelligence Agency. In the course of doing both of those things, his love for coffee, it grew and it grew and it grew. It grew into Black Rifle Coffee. For those of you out there who are going to want to politicize this episode and they want to judge somebody or a brand very myopically without any actual interaction with the brand or the people that created the brand, or through the lens of a position or opinion that is relatively uneducated and uninformed, please do me a favor and go fuck yourself. For those of you who want to hear a conversation with a great American and an incredible friend of mine, enjoy episode number 199 with Evan Hafer.
Okay, got the red smoke. Gun run, north or south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke. Okay, copy, west of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now. Come on with it, baby, give it to me, I need it. Get cleared hot. Copy, cleared hot.
This does sound good. You get good audio levels, I like it.
First person that's ever said that to me, but I appreciate the compliment.
I like your AV guy.
Dude, it's just me.
I know. Second.
It's me and YouTube putting in, how do you fill in the blank? That's how everything in this studio came to be. It was either YouTube or reaching out to Rogan's Jamie.
Yeah, or, you know, didn't JT told me he built your entire studio.
I don't know JT incredibly well, but I know him well enough to know that he's full of shit. So, no, he didn't. He said he was going to make me a logo that he basically went to what I like to call clip art and got me some, you know, I sent those logos to you and you said to me,
those are dog
where did
shit.
You get these?
These are dog shit. These are dog shit. Do not ever put these on anything except for maybe like a joke tee.
I saved them so I could have them, but they're not going to get used for anything. It's just for like internal text messages between you and I.
I think that we should release, I think you, not we, I think you should release the JT series Cleared Hot designs on t-shirts and have him promote it.
I mean, obviously that would be just a what do they call it? A loss leader, knowing you're not going to make any. You know what? They'll be like the stickers that most people put in as like a thank you. Since nobody will actually order them, with every t-shirt that somebody orders, I'll just stuff it in there. That's how people will get them. Yeah,
it'll be a freebie. Buy one, get one.
Well, because it's not going to be buy one of those shirts and get anything else. It would have to be buy one and I'm not going to tell you I'm sending you this.
Buy anything, get a t-shirt.
JT series.
Yeah, JT series.
You fucking cuck, JT. I hope you hear this.
That's fucking cuck. That fucking cuck commie, JT. Oh, man. It's been a while.
It has been a while. I think the last time you were here was with Trevor, which I was thinking about. I never heard the story of your bear in Alaska.
Oh, my God.
Because he was there, and that's what connected the two. And I saw your post this morning. Fucking CEO life, going to wear camo for a week.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I wear a lot of Sitka just in general because it's fairly comfortable. And Barclay sent me the equivalent of Guatemalan's GDP in Sitka. Yeah. So I feel ethically obligated to, I didn't have to buy any of it, so I wear it.
Do you know who wears more Sitka than any other human being in non-hunting situations? It's not Dudley.
It's not. Let me just take a stab. I have no idea.
Jocko.
Oh yeah. That dude's constantly subalpine or whatever the fuck.
If you catch him at attack, he is wearing subalpine. I wonder if he wears it on the plane to Bozeman.
He might.
Because he's definitely changing in the bathroom at the Bozeman airport if he's not wearing it.
He's like, I'm in Montana. I've got to get into Sitka. That's what, I guess that's kind of where he puts his head.
He turned 50 yesterday.
I know. He looks great for 50. He doesn't look tired. I wasn't going to say
that, but...
He doesn't look tired at all.
Which is shocking given his sleep routine.
No, I was being facetious. He looks tired. dude, sleep in. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, sleep in a little bit. I'm going hunting with him in 6 days. So it's Jocko and I in Colorado,
right? He was telling me about that. We were chatting very briefly. He's got that followed directly by, I think, with Dud at the Des.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just hope that he either has a bow malfunction, misses every shot, or sees nothing.
I think go with see nothing, because I think that's almost more discouraging than having a malfunction, because then you have an excuse. But if you don't see jack or shit, that's worse.
I prefer a slight bow malfunction. Like you get on a trip and you're like, hey, I'm just going to reconfirm my 0 on this bow.
Yeah. Bow.
And you get like the 20 bag and you just go through your routine and you release it and it's perfect, but it's like 6 inches to the right. And your head, you're like, what the fuck, man? Shoot another one. It's closer to the center. And then it's like, hey, man, we got to go. We got to get in the trucks. We got to go hunt. And you know you're just off at 20.
Yeah.
And then you see an animal at like 40. You're just like, ah. That's the best. That's the kind of confidence I'm looking for going into a hunt.
That's I've got a whole new routine this year. So I got a mixed quiver now. So I'm doing fixed broadhead and mechanical. So I'm doing...
Do they fly different?
They do. So the fixed broadhead, for me at least, it's flying a little bit different past 60. It's a little bit more inconsistent. So I've got a mechanical past... Basically, 50 and in is going to be fixed. 50 and out is going to be mechanical.
What's your reasoning on that?
Because I can take a longer shot with the mechanical. Last year, I killed my bull in Colorado at 94. Some people say that's unethical. I say it's fucking epic. But, you know,
what
tomato,
would have been
potato.
Unethical is if you had gut shot it and not found it.
Yeah, I shot it about an inch above the heart. It died in less than 5 minutes, basically where it stood. So an unethical shot is when you know you can't make one, and obviously you're shooting an animal or gut shooting or shooting it in the ass or something like that. But if it dies within 5 minutes from a heart or just above heart shot, I think it's fine. I shoot at 100, or at least I have been for quite a while right there in the facility, at least every week. On an average, I shot this morning, I shoot every day. For the last several days going into the hunt, like I'll start shooting like 100 fucking arrows going into that. So
really go into it that nice sore shoulders and just really, what are you still going with the technique I was trying to work with you on, which is holding your breath and really just packing that shoulder?
I've been working on my breath hold all year. So I've got that thing up to 3 minutes, I think. I'm doing good. Pack my shoulder, hold my breath, and I have a whole shot routine. Pack your shoulder, hold your breath, punch the trigger. And then
that's what you guys were doing when we were shooting at that coffee bag that one day when I won all of Matt Bass shares in the company.
That's right. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. I think you did too. God, what a better business partner you would be, though, if you did have those.
So going back to your quiver, though, what's the what is it you like about the fixed broadhead at those closer distances?
You get massive penetration with those things,
like through and through.
Yeah, and you can smash through a little bit more bone. You've got and I'm not by any stretch of the imagination am I a fucking aero ballistics expert. I'm relying on some fairly advanced subject matter experts. Dudley would tell me I'm full of shit. He would say it doesn't fucking matter. He's mechanical all the time. He's like, just stay with the same thing. My arrows are not shooting differently, by the way. So they're still shooting inside the 50. They're point aim, point impact. Well, you know, if I pack my shoulder, hold my breath, and punch the trigger, they're going. Who knows? You know, it's a fucking crapshoot, man. And so I mean, if it's a crapshoot either way, it doesn't really matter. But I wanted to try using the fix head, those Iron Will broadheads. I really like those broadheads. Iron Will? Yeah, dude, they are sick. Like it's a sick fucking broadhead.
I'll have to look those up. I don't have time to mess around with it. I have about it sounds to me like you've been toying with this a bit.
I think you know that I went down the rabbit hole for the last several years. So
archery?
We
all did. We all met
yeah.
Dud about the same time,
Yeah.
and it was like a trapdoor opening on any other activity in life.
God, like it's the more you do it, it's like an onion. The more you peel it, the more it makes you cry a little bit. But I've got a full-time bow tech that works at Black Rifle. I've got a full archery range and back.
Hashtag must be nice.
Hashtag must be nice. And I've just invested a lot of time trying to figure this out.
It's part of your culture at the brand too. I mean, you guys have the hunting location. I don't know if we're supposed to name the
In
hunting.
Utah, yeah.
Call it in Utah-ish, maybe. Maybe it's Wyoming. It's hard to say.
7 bulls taken down in the last 5 days up there.
From your crew?
Yeah, 7 for 7, 100%.
So, do you use their guides? Because you guys are hunting from
Yeah.
a different location, though, right? A different lodge, if you will.
Yeah, kind of. We're all kind of up in the middle of nowhere, and we're using their guides. Wild Country, I believe, is the guides that are going through there. So Ty,
Craziest elk hunting. Not that I've been at it a lot, but in the morning when you're driving up and you're getting out of the car and you're having a hard time talking to your guide because of the bugling bulls.
Yeah.
I think, not being an expert, that's a good sign.
I think so. I think, if I were shooting, using a shooting analogy would be like, it's like shooting crabs in a bucket, right? Isn't that how that goes? Or is it fish in a barrel? Something like that.
Fish in a
Whatever.
barrel, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very, your odds are higher for sure because, public land and depending, right? And it's all information share out there at this point. We've got great, apps for marking locations and scouting, and nothing can replace the practice that a person puts in prior to. And killing an elk at even, beyond 60 or inside 60, it's still a lot of work. So like Logan Stark, Trevor Thompson, Edwin
Are those guys
Parnell,
up there right now?
They just killed their elk within the last 3 days. So
Trevor got one?
yeah, Trevor got one, first archery bull.
God, that's so unfortunate. I wish he had failed.
Well, I told him, I was like, hey dude, like you got to put on shoes and fucking shoot something that has some technology in it. Cause like this barefoot and
analog
stick bow,
return to analog,
dude. This is you're not use my technique with a stick bow with your bare feet. Like you're guaranteed to miss. Just so you know,
this shit's hard enough as it is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. You want to hear a terrible story about a heartbreaking story
about Jocko?
I don't have any of those. No, my bull from the same ranch. The Euro mount. So the bull that I had that came in to 3 yards and then like ran off to maybe 10 or 11.
Because you were scared, right? Isn't that what you told me? You were like, I was scared of this
I wasn't scared. I had already run through a legitimate self-defense situation of what I was going to do if it didn't stop walking at me. And I landed on, jab it in the face, and dive out of the way so he would see my cameraman that was behind me. That's what I was legitimately going to go with.
Right.
Laying in bed like last week, I hear boom in the house. So, of course, immediately clear all sectors of the house.
Of course, yeah.
But I was just looking at doors and stuff. Wake up in the morning, and my Euro mount from that bull fell off the fucking wall.
How?
I have no idea.
Who mounted it?
I did.
Right.
But I did it properly.
How? Well,
I don't want to say the name of the mount that I used because I don't think in any way, shape, or form they're responsible.
Right.
But I had the lugs in the wall. But it had been up for over 2 years. So I also
crazy.
I don't understand how it backed out. But so it went off and smashed the entire skeletal structure of like the nose. The rack is totally fine, but the skull portion is detonated. I was talking to Dudley about it yesterday, and he was saying there might be a solution to where you can, like, just the roots of where the rack starts, you might be able to get something where you can cut that out like a skull cap and then put it into another one.
Yeah.
But that fucking thing fell off the wall for reasons I still can't figure out. I have another bull, the one I shot with Dudley on 9/11 over the fireplace.
Yeah.
So first thing I do, of course, is like checking everything else in the house.
Yeah.
No issues whatsoever. No play. Screws are tight. I can't figure it out, but heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mounted my own.
Yeah.
Using a improvised mounting device.
Ballsy on both parts.
Like, So I'm just waiting. Now that you tell me that, now I went through a full comprehensive checklist, just like my shooting sequence, like it's bomb proof. Which is I used like basically some baling wire and a couple hooks.
Yep.
I think it's solid, but
I thought mine was solid. 2 counters, like it had the full on plastic sinks, like the wall lugs.
Right.
And
that's crazy.
They came out with it.
Oh, fuck off. They came out with it.
Yeah, and I just don't get it. How it had been up for a couple of years and then all of a sudden it just backs its way out. I have no explanation for why it happened.
I want to pause this show right now so I can text my wife to take that fucking mount off my wall. Just so, is that okay? Can I do that? And the one in my office. Just take both of them off and put them on the fucking ground.
Dude, it's heartbreaking.
That is heartbreaking.
At least the rack is
heartbroken.
Fine, right. Because it basically pierced the little, there's like a little leather and metal place where you can put your feet. Like, what the fuck am I thinking of? It's a cushion?
TBI. Probably.
Yeah. It's some days are better than worse. Better than worse. Yeah, I'm having a lovely one. This is what it looks like, people, when you've repeatedly been exposed to blast injuries over time, and many of your activities include getting smacked in the head.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
It was a little cushion, and it went directly into that, so that's ruined. But that saved the rack.
Oh wow, okay, good.
So I might just make a belt buckle out of it, like with some shoulder straps, and just rock that thing.
Send that thing to.
I don't know what to do with it.
Wow, I mean, I would. I mean, if it's ruined, I would send it to
the skeleton is
half
ruined.
place, half face, and have it turned into some epic knives.
I can't afford Arabito's knives.
That's true. I can't either. Yeah.
Like, Andy, I want to get a steak knife. He's like $1,700.
Yeah. Hey, I'm just looking for a steak knife, maybe like a letter opener. Sure, just show me the proof of funds and maybe the
wire
take
half
out
of it.
wire half. You know, take out a second mortgage on your house, and I don't have a problem with that. Yeah,
I actually don't either. His knives are spectacular. We're talking about half face blades. Good luck getting one of his knives on the day that he releases it.
It's not going to happen.
I generally now will just text him directly, like, "Hey man, can you pull one of those aside?" And also, I'll wire you the funds. I feel
like we're fairly close at this point because we've done a ton of stuff together over the last year. But I feel like I don't even rate texting him and being like, "Hey man, can I get some new knives?" Because he did, my little moose, that little pygmy moose that I shot in Canada 2 years ago when you quit. But that's a totally different story. But
yeah, you mean by quit had to leave? Yeah. Yeah. Had a scheduling conflict, actually had to leave? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what the majority of guys that they have scheduling conflicts and had to leave bloods. That's what I would tell people. I'm like, listen.
They had a medical appointment.
I forgot I had a super important meeting halfway into Hell Week.
Ooh, I didn't know Hell Week was going to run through Wednesday, guys.
God, guys. I got a violin lesson I totally forgot about. My watch has been pinging me all morning. Gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he turned anyway. So going back to my moose, my pygmy moose that I shot, actually was a beautiful small bull that's delicious. Like fucking
moose meat is good.
Incredible meat. Because the rack was just like dinky. It looked like 2 hang loose signs. I just sent him. It's like, hey, I need steak knives, and he did. He made epic steak
knives. His stuff is awesome.
Leather sheaths, and I wanted something. So it was one of the first animals that I had killed since in my adult life.
With your bow?
I've been busy. No, it was my rifle because I've been busy. I don't know. There's been some other thing going on.
Oh, we were up there archery hunting, but you reached back for the old smoke wagon, didn't you?
Yeah, because I was on day 9 on a fucking 10-day hunt.
Hey, some people just can't get it done. It's fine.
Well, I did get it done.
I did.
By any means necessary.
I just left. Yeah, it's like, hey, that's out of bow range. Hand me the fucking boomstick.
Yeah.
For what we paid for those tags, yeah, you better.
Yeah. Well, shit, dude. And it was 100 yards, in the middle of the fucking road as we were driving down the road.
Road moose.
Dude, could not have planned it better after we humped our asses off all morning with that crazy dude that didn't wear shoes. And we were on a big bull that morning. Somebody else shot at it from another side of the lake. So we were like kind of going back a little bit like, fuck, man, this is my last day of full day hunting. And then, you know, there it is, sitting right in the middle of the road.
It's amazing how as the hunting trips go on, your standards of what is acceptable for you to shoot at, they modify a little bit. It's like day one, you're like fucking Boone and Crockett only.
Yeah, only by knife. By knife.
Last day, you're like, was that a rodent? I will shoot that rodent.
It's bar rules. You step into the bar at 9, you're looking for a 10. You're leaving at 2,
Trying not
you're
to be by
taking a
yourself.
2.
Yeah.
It's bar rules, man. That's what it is.
I think I was there the day you killed your first animal with your bow.
Yeah, the pig.
The pigs.
Yeah.
And I was whispering to you that positive
Don't
motivation.
fuck this up. Don't fuck this up. Man, that seems so long ago. Like I've got a little bit more blood on my arrows since then, for sure. Like
those days are. I wish he still had that ranch.
Yeah,
because those are fun. Like, hey, let's just go cruise around and we'll either see a bunch of pigs or we won't. And if we don't, we'll just go back and eat and have a few cocktails, and then we'll go drive back out there and see if we see them. And eventually, we'll see them.
Eventually, we'll see them,
and we'll ambush.
We've got a new thing that we'll have to invite you on, because do you know Jamie Caldwell, former CAG guy?
Oh, that name rings a bell.
Awesome dude. Bass fisherman now, professional bass fisherman.
That's okay. You've talked about him before.
Great dude. Does a bunch of night vision training still, still does that professionally and recreationally.
He just teaches people how to use nods?
Well, it's like in conjunction with weapon systems. So like, you know how different elements are less proficient than others, and then obviously that's a...
No, tell me more. I'm not familiar with this.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a layer cake. So he goes out and does that for different units. Great dude. I think his company, I forget the company name that he works under to do that, but he took Logan out with thermals and NVGs, and we got hogs out on the ranch in Texas, so we can just smash them in the evenings under NVGs, which is way better, by the way, because it's like cheating. I mean, you know.
I mean, it's cheating when it's not pigs.
Yeah.
You know.
It truly is.
Truly.
This one's from the hip. King, king. Look at me.
Hey, I mean, if I can see at night and you can't see at night, just checkmate, motherfucker.
Yeah, checkmate. Yeah.
Truly.
I mean, that's...
How the fuck did we get to this?
I don't know. It's a fun conversation. Went from like TBI to like hip shooting. I love it.
Oh, God.
Place looks great though, man.
Yeah.
I really like it.
I think I'll make one more iteration change, and that'll be when the coffee shop is done, the whole project. And then the way I have it kind of set out to be designed there, it'll be an actual studio with, you know, some air-gapped walls and climate control, but also very quiet. So yeah, that'll be the final landing spot, I think, for the podcast. I don't know what I could do with it past that. So
I don't know. I mean, I like this.
I
like
too.
the curtains.
I like the curtains too. They're simple.
Yeah, it gives me kind of the feeling like we're in the backstage. We're getting ready to go on. You know, these things are going to open, and there we are, just
and you'll have to perform
showing
dance
our asses,
monkey.
Dance monkey. Yeah.
So your bear hunt.
Oh shit.
You did.
Yeah.
You guys
Alaska.
were off the grid for what, about 2 weeks?
11 days. Yeah, 11 days. So it was something I wanted to do for as long as I can remember, right? And it was just not attainable, right? In any way, shape, or form, which is there's no way I could afford it. There's no way I could take that much time off. You know, I don't know anybody, so who do you go with? Like what guides, blah, 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 blah. So I put this goal out there, and I do this every year. So every year for myself, I put these like big, hairy, audacious, personal treats, right? It's like a carrot and a stick type scenario for myself, which is if I meet and exceed my goals, I get something. So if I don't,
so you set both. You set the goal and then also the treat.
Correct. Oh, so this is the goal and this is the treat. And it's just something fun that I've done for myself every year, that I've had the business. And actually every year, even before that, I just kind of give myself little treats. They're like, all right, man, if you get this, you know, you can do this. Right. So, Like one year I bought, 10, 15 years ago, whenever it was, I bought like a full Rogue, like, bumper plates and all this other shit because I was like, I want it. Plus it's super expensive, but I don't really feel right doing it. But if I get up to like a 400-pound deadlift here while I'm working out in, Kirkuk or wherever the fuck I was, then I'm going to buy a fucking full Rogue, like, bumper plate setup, whatever, right? So now it's kind of the same thing. I do it in business. I set this goal out several years ago as the thing started to grow, was I want to go on a bear hunt. And
it was always going to be Kodiak. That's what you had your eyes on?
Yeah, it was Kodiak originally, but meeting Cole Kramer.
Who's an awesome guy, by the way.
Who's awesome. I mean, he's a incredible human. He really is such a great guy. He kind of pivoted me away from Kodiak and said, I guide on Kodiak. I guide everywhere in Alaska. The big bears are out here. This is where I killed the world record a couple years ago. Why don't you go on a hunt with me? And I'll knock a little bit off, and we'll have a good time. It'll be like a buddy trip. And I was like, great, sounds awesome. So basically, signed the commitment, and I was like, all right, well, I better fucking meet my goals. And COVID hit, so then it was bumped by a year, basically. So I met my goals
because the bears had COVID.
Yeah, because I think the guides were scared of the bears, of getting COVID from the bears.
Got it.
I think that's what it was. So I met my goal that year. I was like, but I got to punt until next year. So I added Logan and Matt to that. And so myself, Logan, and Matt, we all went out. So 3 tags, 3 bears, and we flew out into, remote Alaskan. Well, it was like kind of mid-peninsula. And
did you guys get out there though, like the small plane with the huge wheels landing in their own landing strip and just hucking all your stuff out, and you're like, peace?
Oh yeah. So we flew into Alaska, then we got into a twin engine something. I forget what it was.
Probably was
relatively small. Flew for another 3.5 hours down the peninsula, then jumped in a Super Cub, flew another half hour, 45 minutes out into the backcountry from the Super Cub.
How far do you think you were from the nearest human?
45-minute Cub flight.
Probably close to 100 miles then.
Yeah, for sure. And then those humans there's only like 30 people in the village. Yeah. So it's not like there was a lot. There's every day we were out there, I saw more moose typically than what we saw on our entire trip in BC. So we saw, wolves.
Well, I saw 0. So
well, that's for sure then. 100% accurate.
I take that back.
Right.
I would be sitting there just like, what does a moose look like on my phone? So I saw a few, but they were digital representations.
Well, and Barklow could explain to me what a moose looked like because he had done a lot of research online and never seen one either.
Which actually, for people listening, is really fucking disheartening when you go on a 10-day hunt and don't even see a single one of the animal. Actually, I take that back. I did see dead moose. I saw Dudley's dead moose.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
I saw Trevor's dead moose.
That was a nice one.
It was, but I didn't see any of them in their natural habitat.
Well, and Barklow went on like a 20-day horse packing trip out in the middle of nowhere and didn't see one moose.
That pleases me so much.
I know, right? Yeah, it's a deeply satisfying.
How much have you hunted with him?
Just the BC trip.
He gets so frustrated. It warms me more than like a roaring campfire. So when I got my 9/11 bull with Dudley, we're in Montana out by White Sulphur. Again, this 920 tag is the general archery tag that I hunt with for a resident. It's not a guarantee, but it's high odds, and it gives you a really good amount of the state. A lot of people talk about I think it's the Missouri River breaks. There's a couple areas that are super high draw. I've never even put in for one of those. I put in for the 920, and Dudley and I were hunting quite hard, and it takes Barklow a day or 2 until he starts getting really pissed.
Oh, really?
And I love how when he recognizes the thought process cycle, he makes no attempt to stop it. He actually shovels more on. I fucking hate hunting. Mind you, this guy is the big game category manager for Sitka.
Right.
Fucking hate this fucking hunting. I don't want to do this shit anymore. And we go, I get my bull, and then Dudley gets his. The night I got my bull, We get back to camp, and Barklow was so frustrated he had drank every drop of alcohol, and he was just blasted. Like, happy for us and giving us hugs. And then all we were trying to do the last day that we were there was to try to get him his bowl. And he's like walking, he's like, it's never going to happen. I hate this shit. We should just get out of here now. God, it warms my heart to see how frustrated he gets.
Did he get one?
He did at last light.
Right.
It was unbelievable. I actually had to leave to make it to, my daughter had an event. I left in between him shooting it. We gave it time, and they went back up and recovered it. And I was like driving all night long to get home to be at my daughter's event. It was insane. There was probably 10 minutes of sunlight left on our last day of hunting, and he shoots this thing. And I'm like sitting there as like junior cameraman trying to capture it all on film. It was a real fuck show.
God, I love that guy.
He's the best.
He is.
But
He
I
really
just truly appreciate his ability to negatively self-talk.
I think the military teaches you that. You know?
Yeah.
I think
When in doubt, add more self-doubt.
right. Yeah, when in doubt, complain. You know? Like just like the worst.
Yeah.
You know? Like, let's turn this in. And two, it could be that he's trying to tell himself it's not going to happen, because he could be one of those guys where he's like, it's just not going to happen. Fuck it.
I know what you're saying.
You know?
You just lie to yourself. Like, why even get excited? It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Go in there with low expectations.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's not what he's doing.
No.
He just wakes up in the morning and looks in the mirror and is like, fuck you.
He's his own NCO.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck you, you scumbag. Fuck.
Then he grinds it out, though. It's amazing.
Yeah,
One
he
of my
is.
favorite human beings.
Yeah, mine too. I texted him the other day. He never texted me back. He might be.
I think he's hunting right now.
Oh, he is?
He's the Hulk of human beings, meaning,
Right.
no, he'd be the Bruce Banner of human beings. You know, his secret is that he's always angry.
Yeah.
He doesn't try to avoid it. He's just constantly angry.
When you see him happy, it's actually a little bit shocking.
I don't like it.
Why? Why are you happy?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Are you drinking? Yeah. So I can definitely empathize with that. You know,
All right.
I've been there.
Back to Alaska. So you guys fly in.
Oh yeah.
Were you like wall tented? How'd you guys decide where you were gonna set up camp?
Cole. So Cole went out several days before we got there. Set up as 3 tents. So 3, not wall tents, but like Stone Glacier had a bigger tent, like 3-man tent that we were using. Then he had a bigger tent. It's called the Arctic Oven. And then he had a really small one for the camera guy, basically like a little pup tent that the bears could get in really easily.
Sweet.
Because
about 100 yards away from the other.
No, seriously, yeah, it was about 100 yards away. Right, where
some scrap meat was just left on the side.
Yeah, well, we'd put all our garbage and stuff over there and put it under his tent, because he's like, oh man, I think the tundra is moving around. It's like, well, those are our old meals we've been putting underneath your tent, man. Sorry. And so Cole went out, set everything up. We were out so we fly in, land in this like old, shitty, I shouldn't say shitty. It's just a bunch of rock field, basically. It looks like an old lake bed. And you get out, and those are the kind of places that I like. Like, I like those places. I like logistically heavy adventures that are just kind of remote, and they're not scary. I don't understand, like, people are like, oh my God, it's a scary adventure. It's like, dude, I got a sat phone. I can just like press this button and be like, oh, I guess I got to get the fuck out of here. Yeah, I got a 338 Lapua mag. I got all kinds of fucking darts that go really fast too. I don't give a shit unless bears start shooting RPGs and belt feds. I'm really not that scared. I don't think unless we were hiking up a mountain, which we did a little bit of that. I don't think my heart rate increases unless you're excited, like it's Christmas morning type thing, like I'm gonna kill this.
I mean, if the bear got into the tent at night sleeping, I think my heart rate would
for
go.
sure. Yeah, for sure. But once again, that 338 Lapua mag, like,
does it work up close?
I think it would. I think it's a great CQB fucking gun.
Tough to handle around corners, but I mean, it could get the job done.
Well, and I have like a 20-yard proof barrel for it. It's like 10 feet long.
Oh, you're like
with a
Civil
break,
War, like musketeer man.
My break is like 8 inches long. because I shot this thing and it's got like a carbon fiber stock, carbon, you know, carbon. So it's like sub 8 pounds.
Which is ridiculous.
It's stupid. And then I have a half a pound fucking like sneeze trigger on that thing.
Those are the best.
Everybody is like, I tell them, I'm like, hey, why don't you go ahead and try that trigger out? And they're like, click, oh my God. And I'm like, don't get scared, baby. Come on, settle down. I start petting them on the head. Don't be weird.
You know your trigger poundage is correct when you're worried when you take it off safe.
Exactly,
your finger's not even on it. And you're like,
yeah.
If I take this off safe, is it going to go off?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I told the dude that was building it for me. I put like a Defiance Action and a bunch of other stuff in it, you know, and it took me like a year to put the pieces and parts together.
You tell him like, hey, I don't want to be able to shoot this while wearing gloves.
I told him, I was like, I do not want this to be safe. Let's just get this straight. I don't want this to be safe. This is to shoot shit a long way away, and I got a hell of a trigger jerk, as you know. Like even with my
That's
release,
why you just
like
aim high and right, baby.
Yeah, aim high and right. And so we're camped out there in the middle of fucking nowhere. Really great time. Like, you know, Logan Stark, Trevor,
and
Matt.
It's all rifle, right? I don't even know how
all
you guys hunted
rifle,
them.
no archery, because we had 3 shooters, 3 bears, like 2 weeks basically, which is almost impossible. It's an impossible task.
So how the only bear that I've ever hunted is black bear, generally with dud in Canada, and they're coming out of their hibernation. So we would honestly, you're finding them by the roads where the sun is hitting and there's green grass. So I don't even. How did you hunt the bear you were after?
You walk up on top of a hill, and then you get out your binos, and you just start your day like that, and it goes every day, all day long, just like that. So it's all spot and stock.
Okay.
And so you find something, you know, get out your spotting scope, look to see if it's a, you know, sour boar, look to see kind of if you could size it. I didn't know shit about sizing these things. Like, to be fair, the first bear I saw was a moose. So that's kind of where my head was at.
Yep.
Because you're looking at through, you know, the tundra, and I don't know if it's fucking tundra. You're looking through a bunch of brush, right? Alders. And you'll see these brown humps kind of moving through the alders. And you're like, oh my God, get the guns ready, boys. Let's go. And it's like, Cole's just like leaned back with his legs crossed, you know, sipping a fucking coffee. That's a moose, dummy. Shut the fuck up. That's a moose. Don't get your panties. And everybody's like getting their backpacks on, like, oh shit, we gotta go. Shut the fuck up. Sit down, idiots. We're just like, all right, cool, man. So it took me a minute, and then you'll see the sows, and you're like, oh my God, that thing's so fucking big. It's like a 20-foot bear. Holy shit. And Cole's the same way. It's like, shut up, stupids. Like, that's a tiny little sow. Like, that's nothing.
It's a cub.
Yeah, it's a cub. Like, you're looking at a bear cub. Like, the mother's just to the left. So it takes you a few days just to calibrate the size. You don't know what you're looking at. So we saw one, and it started moving closer to us, and we're like, okay, let's go down and maybe put the scope on this one. Mm-hmm. And so we get down, put the scope on it, looking at it, and Cole's like, don't shoot it. Nope, wave it off. It's not big enough. And we're like, dude, you're fucked up, God. You don't know what you're doing. Yeah, I know you've been at this for 20 years, but that's a huge bear. We got to dump that thing where it lives, man. And Cole's like, all right, whatever. You guys know, like, you're not going to shoot that bear. He's like, I'm not going to have the smallest bear I've ever shot be on your trip. Then you see a big bear. So you go through and you're seeing a bunch of kind of eight and a half, like 8.5
feet.
Like feet. Yeah.
And you're talking standing on their hind legs.
I'm assuming. I don't know. Yeah. I never quite got to that whole measuring thing. I'm like, does it measure like this? Or I don't know. Whatever. 8.5 feet. It's measuring on their hind legs. And they look big. But then you see a 9.5 or like a 10. Like, it looks like a
different
dark
species.
Polar bear. It looks like a different, like these, the 8-footers, they look like stuffed animal bears. You know, like they're nice round curvy edges, and they're fluffy and kind of cool looking.
Kind of like the black bears we were hunting in BC.
Yeah. Then you see a 10-footer, and their legs get long, and their necks get long. Everything gets longer and bigger, and they look like dark polar bears. And you're like, oh fuck, like that's a different animal. It looks different. It walks different. They know they're the shit too.
The alpha.
Yeah, they know because they don't give a fuck. Like they don't care. So they walk different. Their body type is completely different. So once you see that, you're like, okay, I got it now. And that's what you're looking for. So from that point forward, you're like, I got it. We're only looking for stuff that looks like this. And that's what a 10-foot bear looks like. So I spotted mine. I don't know what day it was. It's somewhat irrelevant. It's like on day 6 or 7. And it was like 4K away. Yeah. But it was out on this green pasture looking. It wasn't a pasture, it was a meadow. So it was like this big draw came down, and you had mountains that kind of surrounded it in this bowl. And to the backside, you could see, you know, in the long stretch of it, probably 6K. And then you could see closer as the mountains got closer to you, down to like 2K, blah, 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 obviously right up in front of you. But so about 4K away, I look out on this green meadow. And there's this black spot like right in the center of this thing. I'm like, no way. Okay. So I put down my binos, walk over to Cole. I'm like, dude, I think there's a bear over there. So he's already kind of getting close to it. He's like, oh yeah, that's a big bear. That's a big bear. And you know when it's 4K plus and it looks big?
It's got to be just
It's
gigantic.
fucking big. Yeah, it's big. So, but it's getting dark. So we're like, all right, let's just watch it and see what it does. If it's still there in the morning, we got to make some moves. So we
Would
got
it
up
just
the next,
hang out there all night long?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I know.
I don't know shit about that type of bear behavior.
Well, because I would always ask Bear, or I'd always ask Cole, like, what's the standard bear behavior? He's like, bears just do stuff. It's bear stuff. I'm like, you're really fucking scientific, man. Like, tell me what they do. You know, like
read Steinbeck novels
like,
by the fire.
Yeah, it's
or
like bear stuff, bro. That's what they do, man. Big bears doing bear stuff, like sliding down the snow and like rolling boulders, and then so you're just seeing weird bear stuff. And they're just doing weird bear stuff. So if it's still there in the morning, let's make a move on it. So get up to the top of this little hill. Still there.
Really?
Yeah, still there. So
like
we're like,
relatively the same spot in the
same
field?
spot.
No shit.
Just fucking hung out. So we got on all our shit, fucking make a move. And it was good, man. It honestly felt like you're doing like a 4K offset movement. That's the way it felt. Because you're moving to kill.
Did you just put a terrain feature in between you and just haul ass?
Just haul ass. Like try to get the wind in your favor and fucking move. Like,
yep.
And, you know, strap everything down, get everything like fairly wire tight. Like, get on the road. Let's go. And so we get a little bit closer, you know, like it, you know, KN, and then you can leave a spotter. So your assistant guide, you can leave him on top, and then he can kind of use flags to flag you left or right. They can't communicate via radio.
Via the regulations?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So they can flag you. They can tell you go left or go right, but you kind of have to figure out like what the fuck this dude on the top of the hill is saying too. So we get down on this draw and we're coming back up and bear's gone. So we think he's moving towards us because there's mountains on both sides.
Yeah,
like,
he's coming to eat your face.
Yeah, he's coming to eat us. Cole's like, okay, set up here. We got on top of this little knoll and so we throw down our backpacks, get everything set up, and you can have backup shooters. So if I shoot, the guide or somebody else can shoot because you want it dead. Like as soon as you can get that thing dead, you need to get it dead. So we set up and here it comes, dude. Just this fucking dinosaur, just about 300 yards out, started like in the, you know, like it's just
stotting, I think they call it.
I don't know what it is. It's just big. And
it's
then,
bear shit.
It's just bear shit. And then he shakes like a dog. Like his hair is just going everywhere. I'm looking at this thing in the scope and I'm like, oh man. And the only thing I could think about was like shooting it in the face because I was like, I gotta shoot this thing in the face. No, I don't. Don't shoot this thing in the face. It's a beautiful face. Don't shoot that thing. So I kept trying to remind myself, don't shoot this thing in the face. Like shoot it. Try to wait, look for an opening, you know, for a heart shot. Because I was like, man, that is a big head, and I'm only 230 out with a Leopold Mark V, so like I could zoom in and look at his pupil if I wanted to,
for sure.
And So don't shoot. I know you want to shoot this thing. So I'm having this entire internal dialogue. Like, I know you want to shoot this thing in the face. Don't do it, you dummy. This is a fucking beautiful bear, you dumbass. And so he says, hey, you know, shoot it. So I shot, and then we turn. So like I put a couple rounds downrange, and Matt put one.
He was with you?
Yeah, Matt was right. Shooter? Yeah, he was. So I had Matt and Logan. They were both backup shooters. And he was dead in 5 minutes. Like, dead. Like, hard D at the end, dead. But as we're shooting, we're not 30 seconds into the iteration. We're not 15 seconds into this iteration. And Cole's like, turn right, bear right. 2 bears, same location. So I shot the first bear. We turn to our right on this knoll, and there's another bear running down the hill about towards 70 yards. Shooting? Yeah, towards us. So about 70 yards from us. He's running down the hill perpendicular to us. And Matt, so Cole's like, Matt, you're a bear. Matt turns and puts one fucking high shoulder in that. And then Logan backed him up on that one.
Jesus.
2 bears down in 2 minutes. Like 2 brown bears, like done. So we had a lot of work.
I was just going to ask you, what's the after of that like, the processing and getting all of that back to camp, I'm assuming?
Well, the first thing you do is just a really intimate French kiss between the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Like a very slow, romantic kiss. No, you get to, like, because you got to go down and make sure that they're dead.
Yeah.
So you go down. Logan broke off with Cole and walked into the alders to make sure that he was dispatched. And Matt and I, because we're important, we didn't. We stayed up top.
Of course.
Well, we're seeing if it was going to come out of the brush.
Send the junior enlisted men down there.
Hey, listen, Lance Corporal, this seems like a good idea for you. I have children. Why don't you head on down there? And yeah, so we both of them are down, and we're like, okay, well, now the work begins, right? That's when the real work begins.
What do you estimate they weighed?
My hide, just the hide, was 170 pounds.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, it was nasty.
That's a heavy backpack.
It was. I put it on for like 30 seconds before I gave it to Trevor.
Logan. I was going to say Logan. Hey, Trevor, hashtag analog this fucking backpack back to camp.
Hashtag wear your sandals on this one, bitch.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. And no, we you know, you just take the hide, and I took the back straps out of mine.
For those type of bear, that's it? You're only
that's it. It's the meat's well, one, it's a lot of meat. 2, it's just not very good.
Yeah.
I mean, you say what you want. All of them carry trichinosis. So any predator that eats other predators, as far as I know, they all carry trichinosis.
Yeah.
And you're out in the middle of fucking nowhere. And, you know, the other thing is just the population management of things, right? Which is the big boars. A lot of people don't understand this. The big boars eat sows and younger boars.
Oh, yeah.
So people are always like, why are you going out there, you know, to kill Teddy Ruxpin? It's like, it's actually part of how you balance the entire ecosystem. It's part of this. Well, we shouldn't be doing it at all. Because I've heard that one too, right? You shouldn't be doing it at all. It's like, that would be one thing if humans didn't exist, dummy. But we actually exist, so we have to directly contribute to the balance of the ecosystem. And, sorry, just doesn't work.
Yeah, and a personal, you know, somebody having a personal belief that they don't agree with necessarily doing that is totally fine. You don't have to push your beliefs on other people.
Yeah, yeah. You know, to each their own, right? It's like it's a huge percentage of the Alaskan economy. They're beautiful animals. They really are. And these are incredible experiences, right? So going back to the story, we get these 2 bears down. We end up landing the Super Cub only about 500 yards, maybe a full K away from
where the bears are.
Yeah.
That's the move.
So, dude, he came in, and there's no way. I would have bet you $10,000. There's no fucking way this guy could land this plane in this thing. The Tundra was 36 inches from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't. It was 30 inches. Sorry, on some of this. The tires were 36. So he's like, he did a couple of test passes on it. He dropped in, landed the plane. Unbelievable, because you're looking at this and you're like, there's no fucking way. There's
those
no
pilots up there
way.
though are just next level, man. There's pilots and then there's those guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, this dude, he was an ice climber before, and then he started flying. So I think he has a high tolerance for just extreme activity.
Or his adrenal gland is completely smoked.
Yeah, or he could just be so high on Alaskan bud that he just doesn't care. I don't
or
think
both.
I don't think he does. It could be all of the above. Could be all of the above. So we hump this thing. Well, we hike out and we take the river on the way out. So we did kind of that traditional Alaskan adventure hike out, which was, we did a lot of river crossings, and we're out there. So it's exactly what I wanted. It's like, get in around midnight, a little bit wet, a little bit tired after moving that far.
Yep.
You've been moving all day, like sun up to sun down plus, because it's Alaska. You're moving all day, carrying weight. It's just super fun. It's just super fun experience. And then we got up the next day and took that day off. So because we dumped 2 bears. Yeah. So we're like, all right, we're ahead of timeline now. And then I waited another 3 or 4 days before I left, because I was like, I was like, I got previous engagement, I got a violin lesson I got to go to. So we left Logan up there with Cole. So he finished out the last 3 days because he hadn't technically got a bear. So he finished his for the last 3 days. He did get one though, right? He did, yeah. So he got it like the last 15 minutes of the last day. And
fuck, man.
And
deep in the corner. Dude,
beautiful, like 3 big, beautiful, amazing fucking bears. And those will be in coffee shops around.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what are you guys going to do with them?
I'm putting mine in so I'm building a coffee shop in my hometown, Lewiston, Idaho. I'm going to put mine in there as well as with the wolf that we shot as well, because we shot a wolf while we were up there as well.
Is Lewiston near Sun Valley?
Not even close. Lewiston's
I know 2
north.
places in Idaho, Sun Valley and Coeur d'Alene.
Well, it's an hour and a half south of Coeur d'Alene.
I'll have to look for that on the map.
It's on the confluence of the Snake and the Clearwater River. It's rivers. It's a beautiful little town. About 30,000 people, right across from Clarkston.
Okay.
30 minutes south of Moscow.
Is that near Sun Valley?
No, it isn't. It isn't, Andy. Sun Valley's not where Idahoans actually live. Like,
I went snowboarding there once with Edan. That's all I know.
Yeah. Well, people from outside of the state moved to Sun Valley. Idahoans don't actually use Sun Valley. They don't go there because it's too expensive.
Too bougie.
You go to Brundage. If you're an Idahoan and you ski, you go to Brundage, which is in McCall. That's where locals go. It's more of a local mountain. Yeah. It's turning into more of a bougie place every year. But you ski in like Kellogg and some of those other places in northern Idaho. If you're an Idahoan, that's kind of where you go. Sun Valley's for people from California. That's some rich people shit there, man.
It's fair. I think Arnold has a house there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Arnold, Sly,
combined age between those two, 197.
Yes. Yeah. And 2 wonderful men, what can I say? Two wonderful human beings. I was going to say something totally inappropriate.
I wish you would have. Mm-hmm. When is that coffee shop going to be open?
Well, I had a good idea for a place that was downtown. And
was this the bank?
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me about it.
But then I passed on it because I want to start building instead of doing renovations. I just want to build them to suit.
I think that's the move, man.
Yeah.
Having said that, I was already telling you before we started doing this, like, it's also a fucking nightmare though.
Yeah.
Now, I've been at it with my business partner for 8 months.
Yeah.
Not a shovel in the ground yet. Like, working our way through the permitting and architectural process. It is the death of 1,000 paper cuts.
But you get exactly what you want. So
well, when I show you the designs later today, I think you'll be stoked.
I'm sure I will, because I've saw the original concepts, which I loved, and I think
they're just more refined. And we have the idea completely nailed.
And that's kind of where my head's at. It's like any of these that I build from this point forward, I'm not going to retro anything.
Yeah.
And if they're like, I'm building a couple right now, which I won't disclose locations, but I've got one site.
Is it Sun Valley?
No, I've got one site that, dude, it's in Idaho, but it's so fucking epic. Like, it's so fucking epic, dude. Like, it will be legendary. Like, people are gonna go, what the fuck? Like,
that's the plan for the one here in Kalispell.
Yeah, this place is gonna be awesome. I'm gonna build one in Kodiak too, I think. I'm gonna
Kodiak,
build
AK?
Yeah. I'm going to do Anchorage, Kodiak. I'm going to do like these key locations that I really like, mainly because I just want to go up there to check in on the shop. You know what I mean? Like, man, got to go check on the shop in Kodiak for 2 weeks.
I've already thought my way through this.
Yeah.
Like, Evan, we need to do our quarterly event.
Yeah.
Wink, wink. Like, let's have, we'll do a, whatever, whenever Jocko's done with his fucking 17th book, he can come up and do a Jocko book signing.
He's doing a fiction. Did you talk to him about his fiction book?
Yes, he was telling me about. So he did the audiobook version of it, which is amazing. It either needed to be him or James Earl Jones. I feel like those are the only two voices that can go with the Jocko book. Yeah. And he was describing the experience of committing that audio file, and there was a woman tech on the other side of this glass screen. Obviously, he can't hear her.
Right.
But she's like laughing along and crying in segments. He's like, it was like this incredible bonding experience through a piece of fucking glass. And that's how he was like, fuck, man, maybe I'm actually a really good writer. Because she's like laughing at the parts that are funny, crying at the parts that are sad. It's cool to hear him talk about it. Plus, he writes so many books that I don't have to write one.
Yeah, exactly.
Because team guys are required to write a book.
Well, he could write yours.
He and I already talked about it. He's like, I'll just sit. He's like, this one will just count for yours. You don't even have to. I'm like, fuck yes.
Yeah. So now you've founded your own coffee, you know, and you've written a book. You can take the credit. The funny thing is that's how I met my wife, because she was in prison and she was just separated by the glass. And
it happens.
I just talked to her, you know, hold up the hand.
It didn't start there, though. You have to build up to that. So in your epic coffee shops, let me tell you something that you shouldn't waste your time as far as the potential design.
I already got it. I already know.
Well, no. Here's an idea that
you don't need hot air balloon parking. I have discovered that.
I had actually thought about that. So in the patio area, it's going to have the circular BRCC logo.
Yeah.
And I wanted to put a spotlight underneath that, but there was concerns that we would blind the commercial air traffic coming in, so they said no.
Yeah.
So don't worry about doing that.
I won't do that.
But imagine that as the bat signal. It's just like, BRCC. They're like, no, you can't do that. You're in the flight path.
Be like Glover in Park City. You hear, we just like bat signal up and we know like, okay, it's time. I don't know, time for what? Who knows?
I thought it would be a sick idea. Apparently, people who fly airplanes professionally don't like to be blinded on short final.
That's just called weakness. That's what I say. Or wear sunglasses.
Or go around it.
Yeah, go around it or wear sunglasses. Like, why can't you? Pilots wear sunglasses all the time. I've seen them, the mirrored ones.
Yeah. You know, sometimes you actually wear them at night when you're flying too.
Yeah.
No, when you're going by lightning storms.
Oh, yeah.
Because it actually will flash blind you.
Interesting.
Little pilot information for you.
Yeah. I always forget you're a pilot for some reason.
I'll fly the shit out of that plane you came up here in. We may not get to where you're going, but I'll fly the shit out of it.
Shit out of that thing.
I can definitely get it off the ground. So what's your 2021 reward for yourself is done. What's your 2022 carrot you got out in front of you?
Oh man. Kind of I don't know. Like when
you haven't set your reward for yourself yet?
I have, but I don't know if I should disclose it, because it's one of those things where it's like, don't tell anybody about your birthday cake wish, you know, like blow out the candles.
This is how you hold yourself accountable. People will check in with you. So it'll just be between you and I. Just go ahead and tell me what it is. Just between you and I. That's it.
And the 100,000 people who listen to your podcast, or more, depending. No, I have... I've been wanting to do this trip for a long time.
So it's an activity.
It's an activity, and it's completely family based, where we go to Fiji for 2 weeks, and we just do like this remote village type scenario where we get to go fishing and surfing and doing this like really cool Fijian things. Yeah. So I was talking to Mark Healy, which I think you know.
I did. I hunted with him in Lanai. He is awesome.
Yeah. And then I know a bunch of these other dudes that have spent a bunch of time down there. So I've kind of got that whole thing where I'm like, it's going to require some time off. It's really, the logistics on it, because you can only fly basically in from Hawaii. So you fly to Hawaii and then fly down. Or you got to go the other way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's direct flights from Los Angeles out there.
If there were, it would have to be from there, probably SFO.
So either way, the way I'm looking at it is like you go out to Lanai, spend a couple days out there, get your bow tuned up, maybe plug an Axis, maybe do some other things out there, and then hop on another plane, take everybody down to Fiji. Yeah. I've always wanted to go. I've never been. Yeah. So, I've been to the really southern edge of the Philippines. I love it. Like, it's amazing. But it's not even close, right? I mean, it's totally different places. I'm not drawing the parallel between those. I like that environment for short amounts of time because I think it's fucking amazing. And I want to see the ocean from the underside of the ocean, the way that it exists without the vacation beaches and things like that, with a lot of travel. I was out in Lanai a few years ago, and Lanai is basically untouched. So when you're free diving out there, I mean, there's fucking fish everywhere. It's crazy. It's like a circus underneath the water. So that experience, I think, has stuck with me to the point where I'm like, I'm gonna start doing some more of this. I want to do some more spearfishing too.
I've never had a desire to do that.
Which is weird. I don't know why you wouldn't.
I don't want to go in the fucking water.
Okay. I mean, do you have hydrophobia?
No, I don't think so. I just don't enjoy it. Especially if there's sand associated with it too. A small watercraft, sand, I'm out.
I think it's fucking cool. But then again, I never got tortured with water. So
couldn't we just pull the pin on a nice frag and just huck it over the side and catch the fish as they come up?
You could do that. I mean, that's definitely a mode, I mean, it's definitely a method, I should say, for sure. But I think spearing them would be pretty cool. And I've tried it.
Maybe one day. Out there. I would probably go with Mark.
Yeah.
That's actually probably would be the only way I would have an interest, is going with somebody who's just world class.
Yeah, that guy's amazing. Yeah. And so he kind of spurred that. I did a podcast with him
recently.
Yeah, we just put that up like a week ago or something like that. Really cool guy.
Speaking of your podcast, explain the name change for it went from Free Range American to the Black Rifle Coffee podcast.
There's just a lot of people that were confused. Like
in general?
Well, there's a lot of people that are just confused in general. Yeah. Like, I don't know what sex am I going to be this week? I don't fucking know. But a lot of people just didn't understand like why we named it Free Range American and why we were doing something completely separate from the brand. So to clarify it, I was like, you know what? We're maintaining Free Range American, but we're doing Black Rifle Coffee's podcast, which would be like the Core 4 and some of these others. Free Range American is going to be more built out as far as like different shows for each day of the week, built around different modes. So like hunting or fishing or whatever it might be, veterans related issues. So, and then we'll keep boring psychedelics. I don't know. It'll be fun. And it was just to simplify my life between Free Range and Black Rifle. Like, Black Rifle is, God, it's everything to me, obviously. So I don't need to bifurcate my attention. I just need to concentrate on doing one thing and doing it relatively good.
Yeah. What is What is new and going on at Black Rifle? We're going to do a Q&A after this, but
Cool.
it's legitimately people asking very serious, like, coffee head questions, which I think you would nerd out on. Like water temp and grind and all that.
I'll fucking nerd out on that all day long. Most people just like, it's like teaching a comms class. People just like glaze over and like start mouth breathing after like 10 seconds.
Huh, what?
What'd you say? Standard wave propagation with the frequency and modulation, blah, blah, blah. And then you're just like, what? And that's the way people look at me when I talk about coffee most of the time. So I typically steer clear of it, just like I did.
Oh, no, we're diving into that shit on the Q&A.
So the new things that are happening in Black Rifle Land, man, I've been really busy for the last couple of weeks, helping on the Afghan projects. That's just been a complete shit show. Obviously,
that's what I was going to ask you after this.
Good God. So Kevin, who's sitting right next to us, he was basically sliced out to that for the last 2 weeks. Been doing nothing but that for probably 2 weeks. And then we had Marty Scoveland, which is a coffee dye writer. He was out in D.C. with Kevin. Wally, obviously, I think you know Wally.
Yep.
He's a former Afghan commando. And then we've got a few other guys that work for us that are former Afghan commandos. A lot of guys thought that they're like, well, you guys, and I got this question a lot where you guys have these linguists, interpreters that work for you. I'm like, they're not linguists or interpreters. They're commandos. they're trigger pullers, man. They're not linguists. And there's nothing against that, but
I mean, you could use them as one in a pinch, but it's not their primary job.
Yeah, it's not their primary job. So, Wally's a former commando, and
what
we've
are
been
his
working with
thoughts on what was going on?
We didn't really get into his thoughts on what was going on because he's mainly concerned about his family members, getting his family members out. So he doesn't really have a lot of time to discuss like politics.
Had he thought about getting them out prior to what I will describe as the fucking dumpster fire of the withdrawal?
Well, I think the big thing is that nobody predicted this would be this. Nobody predicted the predictability of this. Meaning, when I say this, nobody predicted the predictability.
I'm running that through my fucking current TBI brain today.
Yeah, which is we should have saw this coming, right?
So let me ask you a
question. We should have seen this coming.
Before you continue, because a lot of people have asked me about Afghanistan.
Sure.
And I don't think I've asked you this question directly, but I've asked almost every vet that I have served with or people that served in Afghanistan. Your partner force experience with them was when you were probably over there OGA?
Yep.
Okay, so mine was just working with ANA, ANP. I had, after somewhere between 6 to 30 seconds of working with our partner force over there and then spending the last 10 months with them on my last deployment in 2010, I had absolutely no doubt in my mind that what is happening now would eventually happen. Were you surprised, or did you think that that was going to happen as well?
Well, I'll tell you a little story, okay? We're going to roll the clock back to 2010-ish.
Well, and the reason I separated my experience with my partner force is that you guys might have been working with a higher tier of partner force.
We can get into that later. I think my story is 2010-ish, we'll say. I don't know. Petraeus was the director at the time. We were in a conference room with a bunch of head shed people from the agency, and they were asking about how the American conventional military withdrawal or downsizing, what the impact that would have on the overall country and what our host indigenous forces, what they felt would happen. And they got around to me, and me, I'm a politically correct guy. I'm always super politically correct. And I was like, well, one, I heard a bunch of people talk about like, and this is just like, it's part of this entire upper echelon executive bureaucracy jerk-off session that these fucking retards had for multiple years, right? Where it's just like, oh, the occupying or the occupying thoughts for the indigenous forces here are that they'll be able to sustain indefinitely for extended periods of time with, liquidity and blah. It's just like, it's just a bunch of fucking nonsense, but it's got multiple syllables and it might sound good from a textbook, right? But I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this just absolute fucking drivel, just like verbal diarrhea of bureaucratic fucking circle jerk bullshit. And it gets to me. I'm like, yeah. This place is going to collapse like a fucking dying star. And everybody's fucking mouth like agape as to why would such an idiot say such a thing?
Only maybe because they spent a lot of time there.
And like, they're all like looking at me like I just like, not only do I have a dick growing out of my head, but it's like a goat dick. They're just like, how dare this guy? I'm like, what? There's no Carl Sagan fans here? Like, do you guys not understand like the whole, you know, theoretical physics behind like the collapsing of a dying star? It sucks everything in. Like the energy collapses on energy. And they just were like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. That was 2010. And there's zero doubt. Like zero doubt in my mind. And I used to drive around and talk to people about this a lot because there was a complete disconnect between what the State Department could see and we'll call it their political and government influence within what was happening in the country of Afghanistan. And then what was happening with the military and what was happening with OGA, right? Because you had multiple different competing mentalities as to how they were approaching the problem. The problem can only be solved with copious amounts of ultraviolence. It's the only way. There's no other way out of that problem. And I hate to tell everybody, like, and I know a lot of your listeners will understand this, but if you're not willing to do it,
don't go.
Don't go. Because you can only kill your way out of that. That's the only way it works. And it's not me, I'm not sugarcoating shit. Like, you have to cut off the fucking borders to Pakistan. You have to punish them. You have to physically punish the Pakistanis and the ISI for supporting the Taliban. You have to bring ever come out, violence.
Has anybody ever, even on that point, has the U.S. government ever clearly come out and said, hey, our supposed ally is fucking supporting those that are fighting us in Afghanistan? Or do they just completely whitewash that?
I think they whitewash it. I think that there's some identifying factors, right? But you have to hold the big three accountable, right? Iran, China, Russia, for any external support. You have to cut off the border support or the porous border influence from Pakistan, the Pakistani ISI and the intelligence influence. You have to be physically ready and prepared to punish them for them supporting the enemy that we're trying to kill in the war that we're fighting. If you're not willing to do that, you can't fight the war, just period. If you're not willing to do it, you can't do it. And this idea from people that love to read about political influence in these, and when I say this, it's like I'm being derogatory towards an organization that I don't necessarily know a lot about, because I find most of them just to be highly incompetent half-wit bureaucrats that have no ability to actually understand a fucking problem. You can't dig your wells in Afghanistan and solve the problem there. It doesn't fucking work like that. You can't build enough schools and dig enough wells to solve your fucking problem. So this entire idea that you could do that is so fucking ludicrous that you have to solve the problem first of having a complete cultural and education gap. Like, these, and when I say this country in Central Asia has been at war for decades. And what that has done to the country is it's eviscerated its intellect. It's eviscerated its ability to identify with evolution and move past certain aspects of their culture. What am I saying? What I'm saying is, you have an uneducated population that, and when you say uneducated, they're a high degree illiterate.
Shockingly high degree.
Shockingly high degree of illiteracy, that they can't read. Obviously, that's what illiterate means. But then they believe in, we'll say, cultural inaccuracy. I don't know what the correct terminology would be. It's not religion, because there's a mix of both religious views and cultural norms and a bunch of these other things that are
fairy tales.
Fairy tales. They believe in like fairy tales and like witchcraft and a bunch of other bullshit. Like, so you have this mix of illiteracy, witchcraft, and religion that's coming to the epicenter of, you know, cultural identifying factors with a high degree of violence, where ultimately the only thing that is respected is violence. So you've been there, you know, but everybody else wanted to talk about this, and they want to talk about like, oh man, we're building schools and we're fucking educating girls. And it's like, yeah. So we're exporting, just so everybody knows, they're exporting more opium than they ever have been, because we went in and displaced the Taliban, and then they went back in and decided we were going to try to fight the fucking drug war one year, and then it was not the drug war, and then it was some other fucking war. It's like, you guys didn't come in with minimum mission success criteria. You had no identifiable, like, these are the things we must achieve in order to withdraw as a successful war. So you had multiple generations of administrations that were trying to fight a war built on false political ideology. The second that they put in the Islamic Republic, you lost, because you don't have a separation of church and state. Yeah. That's a whole kind of fundamental thing that we built over here. It's like, oh wait, we're going to build democracy in a country with a small literacy rate that's being influenced by external countries, being fed a ideology of extremism through war, influence, and when I say violence and money, meaning the opium trade is still pretty good, folks. Makes a lot of people a lot of fucking money. And now you have Islamic extremism, the international drug trade, you know, all of these different competing factors. And this is like super complex, and I'm trying to distill it down for the audience so they don't like completely think that I've lost my fucking mind. The point of this is that our politicians have fucked this thing up. Like, it's not the war fighter. It's actually not even the Pentagon, because the Pentagon released the papers on this, 3 years ago? And they did a proper assessment on this. They said, hey guys, without our external support, this thing will collapse. But it became a political based agenda to continue to put more troops in here. Like, Obama had the option, right? So all the guys out there that are like, oh my God, you know, Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize. Remember, he increased troop levels in Afghanistan, guys. Remember, he bombed U.S. citizens in Yemen. I
was going to say his drone program, which was not his drone program. Right. When he was sitting in the seat, it was at the peak of just fucking savage killing.
Savage killing.
Yeah.
Nobel Peace Prize.
Which, by the way, I'm not against a peek level of savage killing with drones.
I'm not either.
Fucking at all. But also, let's remember and maybe keep that conversation point on the table when we talk about this stuff, because people want to be like, well, hold on a sec. Yeah, get out of here. I don't want to talk about that one aspect of it.
You can't. The politicians have continued to fuck us. That's what this is boiling down to.
I'm almost at the point where I think that's the definition of a politician.
You send us to the Middle East, you know, Iraq, Central Asia, Afghanistan. You tell us to go fight a war, and then you put rules on it. Then you handcuff the warfighter for decades, and you don't allow them to win. Like, how long would it take you to sit down with a group of your buddies to come up with a war plan that would send the Taliban back into its caves for decades? How long do you think it would take you?
It would depend on the ROEs.
No, that's what I'm saying. You write everything.
Oh, I write everything?
You write everything. Doesn't matter.
15 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the most frustrating part of all of this is you and I could sit down here. You and I could have sat here and constructed a game plan to fight the Taliban in Afghanistan that would have sent them back into the caves in their wingnut ideology for at least decades, and our children would have been safe from fighting in this war. Like, truly. And I think that most people don't understand that. They think, and we did. There's countless service members that have dedicated their lives to this. But the irritating part of it is that the political infrastructure that we put in place was completely incompetent at conducting warfare to support themselves without our external support. And the warfighter didn't have anything to do with that. That's the fucking State Department.
The government that they put in place, what was Karzai president for? 14 years?
I don't know. Yeah,
people,
too long.
Yeah, if people want to get a shocking look at corruption in government, just take a look at the Karzai administration towards the tail end of his presidency. Yeah. Fuck me running.
Dude, that's the whole thing with this is like when we look at the
propped up by our State Department.
Propped up by our State Department. The intel guys on the ground, and I'll just kind of explain the whole match, so to speak, out there, which is like most of OGA or the CIA or the intelligence community, they don't respect what the State Department does because they're incompetent. Just so everybody understands, they're fucking incompetent. Point example number 1, Afghanistan, you dumb motherfuckers. And it's not the people working in the State Department, by the way. It's the people running the State Department. It's political. It's our political appointees. Like, let's just think back. Who was in charge of the State Department during Benghazi? It wasn't a person that was a professionally trained diplomat that understood what was happening in the Middle East. It was what they call it, the neocon, and then you have the fucking neoliberals, right? It's like these people that believe they can install democracy in these countries. They truly believe it, or if they don't believe it, they're willing to.
Politicians at that point.
Yeah, like, oh, we're going to hold up the fingers and look at everybody voted, right? Okay, dummies. Democracy, it takes a willing population that will fight to free themselves and place a constitution that they wrote. If we just have to look at history, granted, I understand. I don't think a lot of people understand, or I shouldn't say, I don't think they understand this. They forget the French were instrumental in helping us achieve independence. Like, instrumental. Washington gave us less than a year, unless the French came in and financially backed us with not only troops, but their gunships. They're like, hey, we need more money. We need more ships, or this thing might be fucking over. External support is one thing, right? But you can't be, if the French would have been 100% involved in the entire operating premise of how we built our Constitution, installed a French government, this thing would have been fucked. So it has to be kind of its own blend of capabilities within the political capabilities, and it has to want democracy from within the country.
I think that's the key point right there. It has to be desired, built, and supported from within the country.
Yeah.
I think of democracy in Afghanistan, and I'm just, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking of, the finger up, I voted. Like, that works in Kabul, right? Let's call that their most, probably between that and Kandahar City are probably their most advanced cities.
Yeah.
I mean, how does somebody up in the Pech Valley or the Korengal, how do they vote in the elections? Who's going to fucking run that? A Democrat? That's what I'm saying. Like, there's so many people don't understand the complexities of the provinces in Afghanistan. Our terms were RC, north, south, east, and west, right? Yeah, that's not their terms.
That's not their terms.
It's like, do they even recognize the border in Waziristan, the tribal area? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So our idea of how a democratic election would go and the reality of what they want, what they know, and how they would even do that, we're talking like baseball and bowling.
Well, there's these really broad assumptions built on, well, we want this, so therefore other people will want this. Well, one, the arrogance in that.
Yeah.
Like just the hubris and arrogance involved at the State Department with their level of thinking where they could say, well, we need to educate the girls of Afghanistan. Not everybody disagrees with that in Afghanistan, by the way. So just so everybody's like super clear, there's a lot of people that agree education and female education in Afghanistan is a good thing. But there's also a big portion of the male population in Afghanistan that look at women as beasts of burden. They look at them as less than their mules. They beat them with sticks. And I was explaining this to my wife. She's like, I don't quite understand like the differences, and not that my wife is unsophisticated. I was like, you have to realize there's a portion of Afghanistan, the male portion of Afghanistan and yours, you know, Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, all these other stands, that they look at female population as less than their donkeys. Why would you send your donkey to school? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like that is there to have more children that provide workers for my farm. If it's not doing that, like, you know, making food or supplying children, that's somewhat irrelevant. Like, we're not going to send our donkeys to school. And there's a portion of Afghanistan, especially in the tribal regions, that they believe in this. Another example is like Bachabazi, right? You know that.
Bachabazi? I don't think so.
Oh, Bachabazi. Holy shit. So this is a whole thing across Central Asia too, where this is the difference that people have to understand, where, you know, you're working against two very different cultures. So Bachabazi is the child exploitation norm of portions of the Afghani population, which is little boys dress up like little girls
and
perform
chai
for
boys.
their adult male suitors. And they have parades.
And then get fucked.
That's acceptable in portions of Afghanistan. That's acceptable in provinces. There's 23 provinces in Afghanistan last time I checked, give or take.
I'm going to add something to that too. Not only is that acceptable in some of those provinces, sometimes that was clearly and overtly visible with our partner forces.
Yes.
You have to understand the people that we were working next to.
Correct.
The by, through, and with.
By, through, and with. And oh, by the way, the same State Department that would defend having cultural autonomy and celebrating the differences in our society. It's like, fuck off. You fucking rainbow worshiping weirdo. Like, fuck you. This is what's going on. So as long as you're trying to accept that as a cultural norm, and we're saying we're going to support that, we have such a valley, a world of differences between the two of us. You have to fix those things. You have to fix the education system. You have to fix the cultural divide between what we think is okay and acceptable and what they think is acceptable, which takes generations. And oh, by the way, it takes a genocidal level of violence to do that. So when people talk about Afghanistan, they talk about the problem and how to solve the problem. The problem could have been solved. You have to cut off the borders and you have to cut off the external support to any form of our enemy. And then you have to enforce that through violence and economic sanctions. So Pakistanis, the Iranians, the Chinese, and the Russians, but we don't have the stomach for that. You know why? Because China makes really cheap tennis shoes for us, and we love to borrow their fucking really inexpensive money. So how are we going to hold them accountable? You know why? Because our politicians are fucking us. That's why. Because they're exporting our jobs, they're loaning our fucking money from China, and they don't want to hold the real countries accountable for their actions. And then they want to carry, and then they want to give that burden to the war fighter to carry for the rest of their fucking lives.
Yeah, we're the chai boys in that scenario. We're all dressed up and dancing.
Yeah, we're the chai birds. Yeah, exactly.
Then we're going to get fucked.
Yeah, and we're going to get fucked.
You know, another thing about Afghanistan too, and this is a conversation I've had with vets who are extremely frustrated by what's going on, which I totally understand. is you have to remember that when we first went there, it wasn't actually about saving Afghanistan from Afghanistan. It was about going after the people who perpetrated the attacks of 9/11.
Yeah.
It wasn't until my deployments over there, late 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, they were kinetic in nature. It wasn't nation building. The buy with and through was like, listen, I'm required to have an X amount of partner force with me. You guys like come along and I'm going to put you into a place where you're not at risk to yourself and you're not putting me at risk. But it wasn't until much later when I don't know, maybe it became the political hot potato that it shifted to nation building. So I think the reasons that we went there, it merged with this like, oh fuck, we're going to be here for a long time, so let's maybe figure out nation building along the way. And we just fucked that football 7 ways from Sunday.
Well, nation building for me is an excuse for the military industrial complex to go in and spend a lot of the taxpayer dollars. And my experience in Afghanistan, I remember very acutely, like driving around thinking about these things, like in depth, about how this is such a fucking colossal waste of the taxpayer dollars and how it's a colossal waste of American blood. I found a field one day, and I was out with my partner force, and I went out behind our range, and there's a field of up-armored Humvees, brand new. 100, 200, I don't know. Brand new radio systems in them. And I was like...
Just gathering dust.
Where did you guys get all these? And I went out there, and for a couple weeks, they kept me on one side of the compound all the time. And then I just happened to pop my head over the fence. I was like, where'd you guys get all these vehicles? Well, we didn't give you those because I was running their budget. Oh, these are from that's from John Standinelli, friends. You know, like it's like they're making up some fucking name, like it's their girlfriend that lives in Niagara Falls or some shit. And I was like, no, but seriously, where'd you guys get these? Like, oh, they fell off a fucking truck and coming over the border in Pakistan. I started doing a little bit of digging, and there's an astounding number. It's like 100 million annual fell off a truck coming over the border from Pakistan into Afghanistan.
Almost like it's planned.
Almost. And I kept thinking about this, and I'm like, we'll never be able to win. When I say win, classify a W here, unless we really focus on fixing the level of corruption, embezzlement. We had to work through the Pakistanis all the fucking time. And like, those guys aren't our allies.
No way.
They're not looking.
There's no way they knew that bin Laden was right next to their West Point.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. And I'm like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, this is a really expensive pause button. Like this is the cost of a pause button. So in 2010 or 11, I forget which, and I spent a ton of time. I spent the majority of 2010, 2011, and then part of 2012 there with my partner force. And I kept thinking and you could feel it, which is the American State Department and the upper echelons of the bureaucratic machine. They were never really in touch with Afghanistan, because they would have the embassy and different compounds. They had like a pool and, nice cafeteria, and they would fly in fucking steak and lobster once a week. And then they would leave their 5-star hotel, which was basically like the Four Seasons, and get into their level 7 armored vehicle that is $500,000 in nature with, 3-inch thick fucking glass. But they never felt Afghanistan. They never felt it. You know why? Because they're always separated by fucking armed guards and 3 inches of armored glass. They never got out on the street. And honestly, you have to have that dexterity with the problem to understand how important and how fucked up it is you got to put your ass on the line and go out on the fucking street and go out in the fucking mountains without 3 inches of armored glass separating you from reality. And that's what fucked us. Is because every one of these bureaucrats that went over there was separated by a big fucking wall and barbed wire and 3 inches of armored glass, and they never got out on the fucking street and felt the reality of Afghanistan. Because if they would have felt that for 15 fucking minutes, without gun trucks and, armored fucking vehicles, they would have been like, oh my God, this place is not fucking safe.
It would have changed the content of their white papers, that's for sure.
It sure as shit would have. And there's no reality I ever lived in the years that I spent over there where I wasn't at least weekly thinking I'm going to get fucked up here. Like I'm going to get my fucking head blown off. I'm going to get blown the fuck up. I'm going to get shot by one of these other Afghanis. Like there wasn't a one fucking week in my life that wasn't in reality, which is like I would get out of my gun truck. I would step out into the field with my guys, and we'd have to go out and do the fucking bidding of what was actually happening in the war. And when you're not separated by that artificial reality, sometimes reality starts crushing home to you and you start to see things as they actually are, which is this place is unsafe. My ass is on the line every fucking second that I'm out here. And when you realize that, it's like, oh, wait. What the fuck are we doing? Like, what are we doing? So I think, no, to answer, this was a long answer to a short question, which was there is zero doubt in my mind if they didn't have external support, this thing was going to collapse. I don't disagree with the withdrawal, by the way. I don't.
Same.
I don't.
The execution of the withdrawal.
The execution is indicative to how incompetent our politicians are. That is what this true example here has nothing to do with the military, has nothing to do with, I mean, obviously I could condemn some of the portions of anyone for their actions, but this is all about political incompetence and their lack of owning what's happened over the last month.
Yeah. And in my opinion, that paintbrush goes over both sides of the aisle.
Correct.
There's fucking incompetence on both sides.
100%. Because I've heard it too where, conservatives are like, we should stay and we should stay forever and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, man, no. We're trillions of dollars into this problem, and the Taliban took the country back in what, less than a week?
Yeah, if that.
So trillions of dollars, 3,000 plus American fucking lives. How many thousands of limbs that have been sacrificed in that war? And you're going to tell me that another $10 trillion or whatever the fuck we're going to borrow from China and that thousands of American lives are going to be worth it? No, because you're not willing to do what it's actually going to take.
Yep.
That's their problem. They're not willing to do it. They never had the stomach for it. They're more than willing to let you or I go out there and shit in a box and carry a fucking saw and watch our buddies. Yeah, or shit in the field. I'm talking about like a ammo box that you'd have to you'd use as a fucking box, right? And you'd shit through it. But they're more than willing to let us go out there, with, belt feds and walk through fucking valleys and watch our buddies get fucked up or us get fucked up. They're more than willing to do that. But the second when it comes to them actually executing something with dignity and respect, they're incapable of doing it. And we should absolutely hold them 1,000% accountable for this on both sides of the aisle. They should lose their fucking jobs. The head of the Department of State should have fucking resigned last week. Milley should have resigned. All these fucking dudes should have resigned. They should have walked in. Here's my resignation. I need to get the fuck out because I have fucked this up so badly that it affects the American veteran psychology so negatively. I have to hold myself accountable. Nobody is willing to hold themselves accountable. You know who's holding themselves accountable? The thousands of veterans that have been getting together on, fucking Instagram and all these different places helping Afghanis leave, the Afghani commandos, the guys that actually watched our left and right, the good dudes and their families. Hundreds of hours, thousands of hours in the last 2 weeks on the Digital Dunkirk, the guys that were doing that. Like I personally sent hundreds of thousands of dollars to get flights out of both Mazar and Kabul. The fucking hundreds of former SOF guys and generals and fucking lieutenant colonels and guys like Kevin going out and putting their asses on the line to try to get their friends out of here and try to try to salvage some small amount of fucking professionalism and respect that is dedicated to the professional sacrifice of the Americans that have died over there. But they're not. They're more than willing to just walk away from the fucking microphone and say, that was last week or whatever the fuck excuse they want to talk about this week.
Yeah.
So that's my rant. Hopefully it's not too bad.
So what day is it today? It's the 9th of September.
Yeah.
2 days, 20 years.
2 days.
Since September 11th. What, given what's going on, still continuing to go on in Afghanistan and looking back now 2 decades, how do you feel about the service that you dedicated with the very formidable years of your adult life towards the cause that I think you and I both, whether it's the national narrative, I mean, I understand I can explain to myself what I believe, what I was doing and what I was fighting for, but how do you view the time you invested in service of your country now with 2 decades in the rearview mirror?
It's just mixed emotion, to be honest with you.
Yeah, same here.
I'm proud of my, my subculture and, my peers and my friends and what we've been able to do, specifically given, I think, the restraints. I think the level of professionalism that we have exemplified over the course of 20 years has established the bar for the entire military, I would say the entire international military community. I don't think there is a service member in any country that doesn't look to the American warfighter and think that's the best warfighter in probably human history. So I think from that perspective, I think we have a lot to hold our head up and say we're really proud of what we've been able to accomplish given the political restraints that we've been under for 20 years. I think that we have definitively accomplished the ability to penetrate the veil of international terrorist organizations. I think that's come at a cost, too. I think because we focus so heavily on terrorism, we've taken our eye off of very, very strategic threats, and we've allowed them to penetrate with their propaganda into the American fiber.
Talking about like national level actors.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big three: China, Russia, Iran, and to some degree North Korea. You could say big four, but North Korea is not insignificant, but it's less significant. And I think the American warfighter has a lot to be proud of. I think we have some really big problems now because we've been so focused on killing terrorists that we've let some of the really big strategic threats, I think, put us into a very vulnerable situation. Not us, not the American warfighter. I think the American warfighter has been doing what it's supposed to be doing for the last 20 years. I think our politicians have completely failed in aligning our military interest and our strategic threats on a regular reoccurring cycle. I think they failed at that. I think they got caught into political fodder. So it's like more troop surges, nation building and all this fucking bullshit so they could earn votes in favor instead of saying, we heard it. Obama laughed at Romney when he said, I think when he said Russia and China are the biggest threats, and Obama was like, what are we living in the Cold War? Whatever, right? Like cool guy Obama, right? And I'm not a fan of either one of them. So just to be fair, but that at that time was laughable rhetoric. I don't think there's an intelligence professional in the world right now that
laughing about that.
There's nobody laughing at that. This is a fucking serious game that we're playing now. And we're behind the power curve. So I think the warfighter should be really proud of what we've been able to accomplish. I think that we should be justly concerned as to how politicians kind of focus the way that we've harnessed our power. I think that's my big concern. I think that, we've woulda, coulda, shoulda, looking in the rearview mirror is not necessarily something that I like to do a lot of. I like to kind of look forward. How can we change?
Adding to that, let's say you could take the knowledge that you have now, 20 years post 9/11, and you could have the information of where we are now, the trajectory that people could argue about, you know, what this country is on from a societal perspective or a geopolitical perspective. So let's say you had that knowledge. Would you still dedicate the years of your life that you did? If you had the chance to go back with the knowledge you have now, would it change your decision to pursue the path that you did?
Yes and no. I would have still done the same things because I was professionally ambitious and I wanted to do certain things, right? I wanted to go become a Green Beret. I wanted to go work for the CIA. I would have spent less time there. I would have spent way less time there. I would have spent more time, like, you know, hunting, fucking rolling rivers, you know, maybe like doing shrooms. I don't fucking know, but like I dedicated the majority of my adult life to Afghanistan and Iraq both. You know, 9 years at the agency, 9.5, give or take. And I would have spent way less time there. I would have been like, okay, I got that cool medal. Now it's time for me to move on down the road, you know, and do something else. But I wouldn't have changed a lot of it. You know, I would have just cut down my deployments and probably just pursued something a little bit more individually fulfilling or more strategic, you know, versus tactical. I would have had probably a greater impact. I've also realized that, like, just because you're old and you've been around a while doesn't mean that you're smart. So
accurate statement.
Yeah, just because you're fucking old doesn't mean that you're smart. So it's not that I don't respect my elders. It's just that when you have a bunch of people that are chomping to send the warfighters overseas, you should be very skeptical as to why. Not because they're being manipulated by some puppet master like the Illuminati. No, because it just might be stupid. Like that's the one thing I've come to my conclusion with at 44. There's a lot of fucking stupid people that can use long syllable words and string together good white papers. They're just fucking dumb.
Or I'll add to that, selfish too.
Yeah, they're selfish.
They're acting in their own self-interest.
Yeah, they're acting in their own self-interest. And I've come to that conclusion, I think. It's just like there's a lot of stupid people. And they might sound pretty. You know, the noises that come out of the hole in their head are like, oh my God, those sound so good. But what they're saying is we should have a large-scale occupying force and nation build in Central Asia for decades, spending thousands of American lives and trillions of dollars. You should be like, oh my God, that sounds crazy. Like, this is a fucking crazy person talking, man. Like, let's dial this back.
Yeah. 20 fucking years.
20 years.
Where were you on 9/11?
So this is I was in Fort Polk, Louisiana. At
so already in the Army.
Yeah. I was doing what's Fort Polk? Is that JRTC? Yeah, JRTC, not JROTC. JRTC. I was doing a rotation with an ODA down there. I was augmenting a dive team, and we did a helocast in the Pearl River, which is just outside of on the Alabama-Louisiana border. Did it with 160th. Jumped in the river, took Zodiacs up the river, and did a recon of a facility up there. And it was great. I was having a great time. Well, I was fucking having a blast. I was living in the swamp, like UDT shorts and, you know, eating fucking MREs. Like,
BFAs.
Man, this shit was sick as fuck. Yeah. I was having a great time, man.
M16s with BFAs just running around.
M4s. You know, this is an SF. I mean, I have a little bit of dignity.
Yeah.
And
at least I had an adjustable buttstock, for the love of God.
So we got scooped up on target, and we were in what's called the Prisoner Holding Detention Center, or the PHA, Prisoner Holding Detention facility. And so it's out in this barge in the swamp, and I had a military brown T-shirt as a loincloth. I'd made flip-flops out of an MRE box. And I was making dick jokes to my buddy about, man, I don't know what kind of dumbass jokes I was making, but it was super fun, and it was super funny because we were fucking naked and dirty, and we'd be living in a swamp for like 2 weeks. And now we're just in a barge, like floating in the middle of nowhere. And, you know, they're putting us through the whole like prisoner detention thing, you know.
Slappy camp.
Mini slappy, you know. Yeah. And instructor walks in. It's like the plane, you know, there are planes that have hit, you know, the towers in New York, and we thought it was part of the...
Yeah, like, nice try, fucker.
Yeah, and I'm like, yo, dog, like, I'm naked in the swamp, man. Like, what happens in New York? He's like, no, we're out of scenario now. Like, we're putting you guys in vans. We're loading you back up. We're taking you. And I'm like, I'm just kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, this is part of this whole thing. And it wasn't until we got back and no shit, like we got out of the van and went and turned on the news where I was like, oh, this is real. Yeah. And the second I saw the news, it was that day. It was the evening of September 11th, because we had been briefed on Osama bin Laden. We had been briefed on like everything that was going on. We're like, we're going to war. Like, that was the first thing we said. We're going to war. Like, and fifth group technically covered the Middle East, so everybody's like, how the fuck do we get into fifth group? Let's go. Yeah. And but that's like, as soon as we saw that, we're gonna go fucking fist fuck these motherfuckers. Like, it was like,
so by the time you got to the TVs, the towers had fallen.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was by that evening. So I was in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it was probably 10 or 11 o'clock at night by the time I got to a TV.
Yeah.
So the towers had gone down. You know, I think President Bush had made a speech or something like that, and we were watching the news. So it was all about like, now it's time to go get it on.
I was in the Archstone Apartments directly across the road from IKEA in San Diego. Turned the TV on just in time to see the second plane go in live.
Whoa.
So then yeah, like maybe within 20 seconds of turning the TV on, the second plane went in live. Like, just enough time to hear him talking about how it was, you know, they couldn't believe there was an accident, and like, essentially like, how the fuck could you hit that tower?
You can't hit that tower.
Yeah. And then the second one went in, and then it was like, watch the cascading fall. It was gnarly. And I knew it was going to change the trajectory, but I think, you know, Navy spec war, we were just a different rotation cycle. We were still segmented at that point. Like, you know, Team 5 was a Southwest Asia actual team. I had gone to Korea a bunch of times and done a bunch of training at a good old Foul Eagle exercise that everybody should go to. Fucking 5 years in a row.
Yeah.
God, I turned, I think, what was it, 20 on Hooker Hill in Seoul, Korea.
Oh, yeah.
I was drinking, hookers have never, ever been my thing, but yeah, I was drinking in Seoul, Korea on my 20th birthday. But, yeah, it was crazy. And went into work, and nobody, I mean, obviously people are like, yeah, you know, revenge is a dish best served cold, but nobody could figure out necessarily how it was going to go down. It wasn't for me until after I went through selection in 2002, and then the tail end, I think it was October of 2002, I finally set foot over there on a security detail.
Right.
And then went to Iraq before going back for a kinetic deployment. I think it was in late 03 or early 04 we ended up over there.
Yeah, I was the same. I went to the Philippines. So I went to the Philippines first, and then I was down there for a couple months, and then I went to Iraq for the invasion. Yeah, I was there like 6 months before. So I was in Iraq before Afghanistan.
Where did they stage you for the beginning of Iraq?
In Kuwait.
We were in RR. AR space AR, Saudi.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we were in Doha. There was a big buildup, and then we went out to the border with the 101st. We were staged just south of the border. And it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know what the fuck it was, but something reminded me of the Scuds, and I hadn't thought about those forever because it was significant at that point in my life. Yeah, but it wasn't significant compared to the rest of the other shit that I had done. It was like I forgot about it, and it was something like it was like a smell or something, like something weird happened, you know, where I thought about it. It's like, oh yeah, fuck, I remember that. I remember I was in this like GP something, right?
General purpose people.
yeah, tent. And I fucking rolled off and like put my P mask on because that was the thing. like you'd always have to fucking put your P mask on. Well, I was on this base where this 101st guy came in and like shot up a bunch of guys from the 101st.
Really?
Yeah, dude. It was New Jersey, I think. So I was there, but we like scuds were coming over, and there was a bunch of other shit going on. So I woke up the next day, and daylight or whatever, and then that's how I heard about it. It was like right there, and I was there too when the anti-aircraft battery took down a British fighter, like right there. And it was so weird, man, because I look back on the things that I was either witness to or there. It was like I was participating in history in a way where I got the front row seat to some of these things. Like we facilitated the first meeting between the U.S. military and we were the military guys, and Muqtada al-Sadr, if you remember that shitbag. And that was in An-Najaf before Muqtada had actually raised an army. He only had like 40 guys at that point. And we were sitting there and we're like, God, we got to kill this motherfucker. Like we were all just like, hey, we got to kill this dude. Like, let's go back tonight and let's just put holes in that guy. Who cares? He's got 40 guys. Let's go fucking kill him. And the agency guy that was there was like some half-wit fucking case officer that had been teaching something like Middle Eastern studies at Georgetown for like 10 years.
Basically Jason Bourne.
Yeah. And I mean, he was just like a tall, I don't, I don't like tall people just in general, but no, he's like, just like this professor. He's like, oh, we're really working with, Muqtada, and, he's going to work with us and he's going to do this, this, and this. And we're all sitting there going, you're fucking high. Like, what do you think? This dude is going to work with us? Like, this dude works for the Iranians, man. Like, I don't know what books you've been reading, but this dude is never going to answer to us. We need to go kill that guy, like, tonight. No, guys. Like, I know you guys, like, that's when you're a hammer, everything you see is a nail. And we're like, no, like, we know, like, when you kill terrorists, like, everything you see is not necessarily a terrorist, but that guy's a fucking terrorist. Like, he's a piece of shit. Fast forward a few years, fuck, we couldn't have been more right. And I was in this riot in downtown Najaf early on in the war where we were installing a cleric from the UK. And so the actual arrest warrant for Muqtada al-Sadr that he carried for years came from that riot because his guys came in and murdered this cleric that we were installing in the Grand Mosque of Imam in Najaf. So we were standing there and crowds of people are coming in and they just like tore these people to shreds. I'm like, well, that didn't work. Oops. And the actual arrest warrant for that guy came from that riot. And I was sitting 5 feet away from that shitbag like 2 weeks before that. And we could have, woulda, shoulda, and I know that intel's not always correct, but honestly, if the ODA would have been able to exercise its judgment at that point, we would have been much further ahead, and I guarantee there would have been fewer American service members killed by the Muqtada al-Sadr's directive that was indirectly and directly manipulated through Iran. There's zero doubt in my mind.
Damn.
Anyway,
on that note, are you ready to shift some lighter topics? We have to have time for our coffee Q&A.
Yeah, I like it.
Closing thoughts, though, by the alleged Black Rifle founder and CEO.
The two of us, right here.
One of us in this room is probably the actual founder and CEO.
Probably, yeah.
Closing thoughts.
On what?
Anything in general. On being it September 8th.
Oh, man. I think my closing thoughts is my main concern typically is for the veteran community, right? Which is their psychology and their positive psychology cannot be deterred from these events. It's not their doing. This is a political... This is a direct representation of political incompetence. It has nothing to do with you and what you've done. You should be proud of what you've done, like truly. And, you know, I think that's when my main concern, my main thoughts are always there within the American warfighter and kind of their sacrifice and what we've collectively been able to accomplish and sacrifice. And then making sure that we don't repeat the cycle and that we support each other through these specific incidents. You're never going to be able to, you know, one person is never going to be able to have the impact of thousands of veterans together and combined. You got to be very supportive. We got to be patient. We got to really react to the guys that are needing help specifically now, both physically and psychologically.
Couldn't have said it better. Boom.
Boom.
Done. Get ready for some Q&A.
West bank of the river. That's A-firm, west bank. It gives me hell. Still give it to me in the grove. Okay, one's in from the north. I've got the west bank of the river. Two's going to give it to you in the grove. Roger. Give me that gun run. Right along that bag, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to tune in, whether you're listening on an audio-only platform or you're watching on YouTube. I appreciate that you take the time every week to tune in. People ask me a lot, what can they do to help me spread the word? And the answer is actually embedded in the question. The biggest thing you guys can do to help me, if you enjoy the podcast and you think it would be helpful to others, is subscribe and share it with other people. And if you have the time, go on to Apple Podcasts and leave me a rating and a review. If you think the podcast sucks, tell me it sucks and leave a 0-star review or the lowest stars possible. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion, you can go to clearedhotpodcast.com and there is a contact me button right there, which will land in my inbox. And the last thing, if people are interested in helping out, what you can do is fly the old flag. And by that, I don't mean an actual flag because I don't have any of those. I'm talking about t-shirts or sweatshirts or hats, whatever it may be. Again, clearedhotpodcast.com. Click on the shop tab, and hopefully something in there looks like it would be an item you would like to wear around town. And then you can tell people what it is when they ask you. But that is it. The biggest thing I can say is thank you. I truly appreciate it. And until next time, see you.